Hey Saber fans, so I have a Saber reveal for you today involving a Roman Props Graflex 4 blemish from the most recent sale he had. Yeah, this thing is it's a beauty. It's really well done. From the emitter to the D-ring, it's pretty freaking spot on to say the very least. It didn't come with a blade holder. I installed that myself, of course. This is a fully installed Saber with a Proffie board and a whopping 26650 battery inside a Goth Redesigns chassis that houses a 31mm speaker. Yeah, it's big. My only real gripe with this particular Saber model is that sound venting is not really a big plus on this one. So this is it's got decent sound. It's kind of muffled because there's not much sound venting, because I mean, where would you put the holes, right? I mean, it's completely enclosed. The only holes are two that I drilled in down there, very much hidden by the D-ring. Whenever you're looking at it straight on, you can kind of see it at an angle. But without those holes, it was completely muffled. The only sound venting you had was through the clamp, which you still have that, as well as I completely redone the grips. Instead of the double-sided tape, I took those off, drilled holes around it, tried to allow for a little bit more sound venting, and reapplied the grips with E6000. So I'm not sure if that helped much, if at all, but couldn't have hurt, right? So, going over the Saber overall, it is an absolute beauty. From the emitter down, you notice the S-curve, really well done. The rivet, I noticed, was not an accurate rivet, but I can understand why he uses these, because it's a lot easier just to get a screwdriver and screw it down, other than getting one of the flush heads and try to fool with that all the way down and get you a pair of needle nose with heat shrink on it and try to do that. And this is way easier. I can understand why he used those. The emitter, you'll notice it has some type of plating, kind of, I don't know how you describe it. You can see a lot of lines on it. It's not smooth, which it's not a huge concern. The bunny ears are very well done. They allow for, I have a 7/8 inch blade holder, and it seems like that fits it perfectly. I'm actually using a Solo's Hold blade holder in this, and I reused the pins that came with it, as well as the contacts, of course. Reused those. Of course, I had to shorten them, that way they weren't sticking out on the inside. Blade retention, I replaced it with this slotted screw, so it actually, might be able to see it, not really. No, it's not all the way screwed in. You get a good amount of blade retention, I'll put it that way. You get enough to hold the blade in. Of course, you're not going to be using this for dueling, considering it's 7/8 inch, and it's, as you can see, Neopixel. Shine through on the glass eye is fantastic. The thumb screw is your main activation. Nice flat beer tab. The rivet is beautiful. The slide tab holds no functionality. I ended up just gluing that in place with E6000. It's got a nice shiny slide tab to it. The outside is not shiny, as it is on a vintage. The Graflex clamp, very, very even on the lettering with the holes. Nice. I love how it's painted in. That is just fantastic. I love how he did that. The bubble strip has your auxiliary up here. It's not easily pressed, which I, for one, prefer it not being easily pressed. That way you actually have to put some effort into getting it to activate versus accidentally hitting it all the time. There's a small piece of aluminum underneath it to conceal the Goth Redesigns switch holder. And it's very tight. Very, very tight. And since this was a blemish, the biggest issues I noticed, I'll just go ahead and get into this first. Get your 31mm base speak, your 26-650 battery from KR. Have your Proffie board, SD card, and micro USB access. Have your recharge port and a power on indicator.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
I'll probably end up changing that boot sound to something Luke inspired, you know, this is a weapon of a Jedi Knight or something like that, but what was I just talking about? I was talking about something I was going to bring up again, and I of course forgot. Ah yes, the blemish part. The main blemishes I noticed were in the plating more than anything. So you will see there are some scratches around in this area, some non-conformances with the plating. There is also some plating issues up in here. You can actually see them, where the chrome plating has actually chipped away a little bit. The most issue I've seen with the blemish is up here where it meets the clamp. There is quite a bit of chrome plating that has come off just from repeated use. Of course you can't see it whenever it's on, but it is what it is. $100 blemish, you can't really beat it. So, this of course is held in place with 440 threaded rods and small 440 nuts. So without further ado, it's very tight, very tight. You almost have to kind of work it in.
Lord Vader.
The balance.
It's not bad. It's not bad sound venting at all. Let me put a blade in. So you have your lovely shine through. Lovely Neopixel blade. You'll notice the auxiliary takes a fair amount to get it to activate. You'll notice with the soul blade holder you got a little bit of shine through in between, as always. You can take out the glass eye if you want, you know, whatever.
Like vengeance.
This has a wonderful weight to it. I love the shine through glass eye.
Luke Skywalker. Kylo Ren.
Vader's a
Kylo Ren. Young Rey.
Got your rain sizzle. You'll notice with the bottom off, it is somewhat louder. So as you can imagine, this being that beefy of a battery, you get quite a bit of runtime with it. I haven't thoroughly tested it yet, as far as exactly how much runtime you get with it, or how much runtime you get until it starts crackling through the speaker, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, overall, this is a beautiful Graflex. Anybody who got in on that blemish run, congrats, you have a beautiful piece coming. It's, as I've seen some people say, it's more of a static display piece. I can agree with that. I also got in on the Graflex shop blemish run, and that seems like it would be, I don't know if I would say more install friendly, but the slide tab auxiliary seems like it works a little better with that. Of course, you know, this is technically the first vintage replica that I've installed. I've installed an 89 Saber's Graflex, which that has already a slide tab switch set up already in place. But I wanted to go with the auxiliary and the clamp for this one. And I've noticed on certain accurate grips, some tend to work better than others for the clamp. For instance, I have a Maker Prop Studio Graflex I'm also working on, and the grips seem to be just a hair bit longer, maybe half a millimeter longer than these. So in order to actually reveal it, you have to have the clamp and the grip section together. So this all comes off, so that kind of eliminates the use for clamp activation, because where the wire is going to go, right? It's, unless you have some type of quick connect in there, it's not going to work, and to do that you have to drill into the top shell. It's a whole big thing. But yeah, this turned out pretty darn well. I'm pretty pleased with it. This will be going up for sale in the very near future. I'm sure whoever gets it's going to be more than pleased with it. It's a beautiful Saber. Of course, I'm not going to charge anything more than the blemish price for the overall hilt, but everything else is going to get factored in, and it's going to run a good amount, I would say. And of course, I will be making more Proffies, more teensies, all the time. Can't help it. It's what the people want. It's what I want. The more of these that get into people's hands, the more popular it will become. And it's super cool. It's the closest thing to a real Saber that I've ever felt, you know. Granted, we don't have any real Sabers in the real world yet. But yeah, it's a beauty, and hope you enjoyed the video. Till the next time, Saber fans, may the Force be with you always.